What if the way you see yourself and the choices you make every day depend on which chair you're sitting in? The adult chair model shows us how to step out of old patterns and finally live with clarity, peace, and authenticity. Welcome to the Happiness on Tap podcast, where we bring you inspiring stories for practical insights for a happier, more fulfilling life. Your go to podcast for uplifting conversations that stir the heart and ignite the spirit. I'm your host, Leann Herron, and today I am joined by a returning guest, Emily Gilcrease, an intuitive healer, behavior analyst, life coach, Reiki practitioner, and certified in the adult chair model as a coach. With her deep background in psychology and her gift for blending true identity and creating a life grounded in peace and authenticity. In this episode, we dive into the adult chair model created by Michelle Chalfant. Is that correct?
Chalfant.
Chalfant. A powerful framework that maps our emotional development through three stages: the child, the adolescent, and the adult. By exploring which chair we're sitting in, we can gain clarity about why we respond the way that we do, how our past conditioning affects us, and how to move into greater wholeness. If you've ever felt stuck in old patterns, struggled with codependency, or wondered how to step into your most empowered self, this conversation you're about to hear is going to shine a light on the way forward. So let's welcome Emily to the show. Emily, I'm so excited to have you joining me again today.
I am so excited to be here, and especially on your birthday, Leanne, we can't forget to announce the special day.
I was so excited when I had the opportunity to invite you to be on my podcast on my birthday.
Likewise, I'm so happy to be back and have this conversation.
So, for those who may be new, just like me, to the adult chair, can you give us an overview of what it is and how it works?
Absolutely. So, the adult chair is a model, it's a framework for being able to understand yourself, what makes you the way that you are from before you were born, all throughout your life into your adulthood at whatever age you are now. It's a framework that provides you the insight and the questions or the self analysis to go back and uncover and discover who you were then with whatever you're going through, whatever you're looking at, who you were then, how that continued to show up in your life, and how it's still showing up today, whether that is a quality that you love and pride yourself on, or whether that is a quality that you find yourself in a pattern with and you're struggling with. It's a framework that breaks down each stage of life in a very straightforward, neutral, knowledgeable way. It's not to judge or shame or anything, it's more so to educate you. And from there, the three models, especially emphasizing on the adult chair model, which is, like you said, the three chairs. The adult chair is where we want to be seated in our adult chair. But a lot of the times, if we are brought up with individuals who aren't emotionally aware or emotionally healthy, which most people aren't, then we don't always know what it means to be a healthy adult. If we've never been shown a healthy adult and our experiences don't align with that, we're a product of our experiences in our past. So this model helps us to discover all of those past conditionings and also gives us an example of what it means to truly be a healthy adult and how do we get there in a very, very gentle, loving, simple way.
I love that. And when you were first explaining it, the one part of it that came to my mind was like, what does a healthy relationship look like? As the child of a very unhealthy relationship between my parents. My father was an alcoholic. My mother was a narcissist. There was a lot of lack of trust in the household. There was a lot of infidelity in the household. So, how do we know what a healthy relationship looks like or what it's supposed to look like? Because even with the friends that I had growing up, they had the same kind of family, we were all dysfunctional in our own ways. And so even spending the night at a friend's house, you still didn't really get to see what a healthy relationship could look like between adults.
Yeah. And that's very, very common. And so that's your experience. So going back and looking at, was that in your childhood? Okay, because when we're in childhood, we don't know what is right and wrong. So when you're seeing parents behave one way and you go and you see friends' parents behave another way, you're taking that in as this is normal. This is what a relationship is. So then you grow up with that belief because there's no one around you to tell you, hey, honey, no, this isn't. This is what mom's going through. This is what dad's going through. This is why this is happening. That's not normal. And that's not how it's supposed to be. We don't have anyone doing that for us. So that's a perfect example.
So, what drew you personally to this model and how has it transformed your life?
So one of the words you used in the introduction that still it just brings me back to the beginning is codependency. And I will never forget, I was single at the time, had a failed marriage, couple failed relationships, and I was single and I was painting something in my house. I was like redoing my house. And I was listening to a summit from Avaya University, and I had never heard of them before, and I had never heard of the word codependency. But somehow or another, I stumbled upon it. Almost like I don't even remember what led me to it, but all of a sudden I'm on it and I'm hearing these different speakers like Lisa Romano and Andy talking about what codependency is and how it's the need to feel like everyone around you is okay for you to feel okay. And when you are alone or when there are people who are not okay in your life, you are not okay. And I was like, there's a name for that. So, anyways, I'm still listening to the summit and I'm getting so intrigued. I'm like moved. And I hear an episode from Michelle Chalfant on the adult chair. And she starts talking about how codependency is like it can be this big thing, or it can just be a part of us that we learn about. How did we become this way? Let's trace it back. Where did it all start from? And the way she was breaking it down in such a simple way, I was like, ooh, I like her. I want to learn more. At the end of the episode, she says she has a podcast called the Adult Chair Podcast. At the time, I didn't have any podcasts I was listening to. This was like years and years ago. Like I said, I just learned about this. So, like, ooh, I want to listen to that podcast. Start listening to the podcast. It's so easy the way she speaks, easy to grasp. I'm like, wow, I feel like I just did a therapy session listening to that podcast. Like I'm going to keep going for a week with this. So I'm listening to the Adult Chair podcast and I'm learning just simple perspectives and simple shifts. And it's changing my experience. And so at the end of one of the episodes, she says she's having a in-person workshop in Nashville. If anyone has been listening to the podcast and is ready to go deeper, join me in person. We're going to do experiential exercises and group stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to do that. Because I had, at this time, so this was, I had been listening to the podcast for a couple of years at this point. And then I felt like, okay, I'm really ready to go in and do this work. So I go to the event in person, and I think you asked me how I discovered it and how it changed my life. So that's how I discovered it, and this is how it changed my life. Was I go to the event. My mom decided to come with me. So that in itself was its own experience, having my mom there when you're uncovering some deep wounding, and some of it comes from, parents. So, but we did really well, navigating that together. So that was part of our journey together, but it was also a pivotal moment for what my future would be. And I had no idea that from that workshop, with everything that I felt at the end, Michelle said, if you feel really moved by this work and you just can't wait to share it with anyone, and you're interested in being a coach, come talk to us. And I felt like, oh, because I couldn't wait. I was so lit up. I was like, oh my gosh, if I could go through that exercise, imagine, because naturally people in my life have been drawn to me, like to come to me when they were going through things for advice, to navigate issues. And so I already had people in my life who would come to me for advice and things. So I was like, oh, I can't wait to tell them all of these wonderful, easy ways to just like get in there and crack ourselves open and shift. And the question about becoming a coach came about, and I felt like I wanted to do it, but my world, and this is then, I don't feel this way now, but my world at the time, I had closed myself in such a box that I felt like that's not possible for me. I have a full-time job, I'm responsible for this whole company. I would never be able to have the time to do something like that. And I do have the money that I could put to it, but I don't know. But my mom was there. We co-own a business. So she's the owner and we found it together. I run everything. But she's, at home now. It's in her 50s. She's like gardening, doing her thing. I'm there running everything. So it doesn't make sense to my mind. And I told her that. And she was like, you should do it. And I was like, what? Like, I could not believe that she said that. She was like, you should do it. I'll support you in that. Absolutely. The company can support you in that. Like, however you want to do that, like, you have my full support. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm gonna do it. So went through the program. I signed up that day and I went through the program, and whew, my life completely changed. Completely. Every single facet of my life shifted from learning this method. And it's from what I had learned at that workshop. I wouldn't have even had the courage to tell my mom that I was interested in something like that had I not just gone through the work of the workshop, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what an amazing story and what a beautiful experience that you got to share that with your mom, and that you also received that support and permission. I think a lot of times we're looking for that external permission for us to make these huge leaps in our lives. Um, you know, and I think we all go through it at different phases. For me, it was going to college in my 30s because I didn't get to go when I was in my, you know, late teens, early 20s because I had a baby. I waited into my mid 30s. And then again, going back to school in my 50s, it was being drawn to something like that. Like, just like you, like, I don't even know how I stumbled across getting certified to be a health and a life coach. Just one day it showed up in my Facebook feed and I went, this is what I want to do. I don't want to go back to legal work. I don't want to go back to accounting. I want to do this. I want to teach people all of the things that I learned, just like you're so excited. You want to share it. And how do you make that happen? How do you share it? And
Mhm.
so, I found it in my thing. I did the research. I, filled out the questionnaire. They contacted me, and right away I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. That's self-sabotage. And I'm going to have to talk to my husband. And of course, when you get the people that are really skilled in those questions and those ways that we look at getting out of things, she's like, go get your husband. bring him on. Like, we're going to talk right here, right now. We're going to make this decision. I'm not going to, get you off the phone and let you have time to think about this. Like, this is what you want to do. This is what you're drawn to do. Let's make this happen. And so that's exactly what happened. I dragged my husband in and he sat through it and he listened and he was like, yeah, this is what you want to do. We've got the money. Do it. Like, I
Mhm.
had nothing stopping me. I was unemployed at that time. I had left my career in legal. I was unemployed. It was during the year I spent focusing on myself and my healing. And it was at that point where I was like, okay, I need to decide what I'm going to do next.
Mhm.
Like, I can't not be employed. That'd be great, but it's not achievable. And so it was what fell into my lap. So I completely, understand how you were so drawn to it.
Right. And I love what you said about sometimes we just need that permission, the external permission, because I didn't even know I needed it. And the moment that she said, okay, if this is what you want to do, just like with your husband saying, well, you have my support. If it's like, oh, what? Okay. So, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I do too. So thank you for sharing that story. That really, it's neat to hear how you and your mom have made this business something that you can both support each other in how you want to develop it and grow individually and personally and professionally. It's
Right.
wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot.
So you mentioned the three chairs. So we have the child, the adolescent, and the adult. Can you walk us through what each of those chairs represent?
For sure. I will try my best to give a summary because I could talk about this for hours. So, we have our child chair, which is ages 0 to 6. So, this is even when we're in utero. And our child chair, and it's important to note that there's no good or bad chairs. This is all just chairs. We want to hold a state of neutrality for just understanding. So when we understand the child chair, we know that when we're born and into this world, we are emoting, we are crying, we are laughing. We see something that lights us up, we are not holding it back. We are showing our joy, our expression, and curiosity. We are so curious about everything. We're looking at the world with new eyes and with wonder. So, pay attention to the words that I'm using when I talk about the chair, because when we're ourselves living in these moments, we can understand the chair that's coming up. Just like if we're working with clients, we can understand the chair that's coming up for them. So, you can understand maybe if you're spending a lot of time or maybe no time in a chair. Are you super, super emotional? Are you not emotional? Again, no good or bad. We're just discovering that our emotions and our ability to fully express them without fear of judgment or what other people are going to think, that comes from our child chair. So, big, big thing is emoting. Another thing is that the world around us is a mirror. We have no experiences yet. So everything that I'm looking out at is telling me something about myself. I do not have discernment as a child. My brain hasn't come online yet. I also don't have an ego yet. So I'm just here experiencing everything. So when we learn about that, we can go back and look at our childhood, specifically in those ages 0 to 6. Is the world mirroring back to us those those qualities that we're bringing up? Like if I am, experiencing joy and I'm woo, and I'm and my mom comes around and maybe she's like in a bad mood and she's like, shh, be quiet, I'm on the phone. I don't know what that means yet. I don't know that mom's on the phone, so I have to be quiet right now. Just then I was free, I was expressing, I was emoting, and I got shut down. And our parents do not do this on purpose. When we discover this, it's very, very important to know that anyone who has contributed to our conditioning uh, was doing the best that they could. This isn't a blame. That's an adolescent. We'll get there. But this is just discovery. So, were your basic needs met whenever you were a child? Were you fed? Were you clothed? Were you tended to? When you cried, did somebody come? Because that's your first opportunity to start communicating with the world around you and to see what happens when you do communicate. So when you're communicating, and that starts out as crying before we have other functional modalities of communication, our first mode is through crying. And if our parents don't respond to us, or our caregivers don't respond to us when we're crying, that could lead to maybe a inability to stand up for ourselves, not having clear communication skills. These are just some examples. It doesn't mean it does happen, but we trace it back. What was my childhood experience like? How was that for me? Um, so yeah, 0 to 6 child chair. Then we move on to now, good, or do you have any questions about child chair before
Nope,
we move?
that's good. That makes absolute sense to me.
Okay. So when we get into adolescent chair, this is ages 7 to 24. Now, this is when we really start to notice how the world around us is responding to us. And we can start to pick up on what feels safe, what feels good, and what doesn't. Our ego starts to form, and our ego, remember, is here to keep us safe. So if our ego perceives a threat, it's going to signal that we need to do something to keep ourselves safe. So, what commonly forms in adolescent is we are people pleasing, we are putting on masks. We are actually, when we're a child, like I said, we don't care about the world around us. There's joy, there's wonder. I'm sad, I'm happy in a moment. One moment to the next, my emotions are flowing through me. I'm not coming up with stories that it's because of this and because of that. I'm just emoting and going and going and going. But when I'm in adolescent, I'm noticing, oh, well, when I did this, they did that. I still don't have the discernment to know that the reason that people are behaving from their own place, they are behaving from their own past conditioning, their own child chair, their own upbringing. I don't know that. All I know is that when I'm around and I do this, this happens. So we're learning really about cause and effect. And we start to play around. We start to shift the way we're behaving to see, does that change the way other people are behaving? And so this is where codependency is often formed, is healthy adults would mirror back to us, oh, you are so kind, you are so loved, you are so beautiful, just because. But a lot of times we have parents who are, oh, you got an A on your report card, you made mommy so happy. Oh, you went take your little brother to go for a walk in the backyard whenever he was crying and you calmed him down so I didn't have to. Oh, thank you, honey. And so I'm like, oh, when I did that, she was really happy with me. Oh, when I got a good grade, she was really happy with me. I need to keep doing that. We're learning how we are worth. What are we worth? What are the things we do that other people give us love for? When are we receiving love? And we pay close attention because we want to feel love. We want to feel safe. So we pay close attention to the moments that make us feel that way. And then we want to do more of them. So maybe I'm going to become a perfectionist and I have to get A's on my report card because otherwise my mom is upset with me and she doesn't love me. Or it's my job to take care of everyone's emotional needs because my mom doesn't want to deal with it. And when I do that, I'm a really good girl. So this is how we start to form those patterns that are largely influenced by other people. We start really living for other people and shifting the way that we are on the inside. And we don't know that we're doing this, so we're actually distorting ourselves from who we truly are. We're morphing, we're changing, we're masking up. We're putting, it's like we're this beautiful, pure, let's just say ball of light. And then each time someone responds in a way that wants us to stop or become smaller, it's like adding a little shade on top of that light, and a little shade and a little shade and a little shade. And before you know it, it's really hard to see that light in there because there's so many shades put on by other people that it becomes natural to, oh, when I'm around these people, I do this. When I'm around these people, I do this because that's how they are. And so I need to fit in. We really need to fit in. We feel the need to fit in when we're in our adolescent. And if we don't, that feels unsafe. And also, we still don't have discernment. So if we are on the receiving end of anything that is, I'm going to say negativity, like if we're getting bullied, if our parents are scolding us, we don't know why. We don't know the true why. What is going on in our mind is we're developing beliefs that will turn into limiting beliefs that are I'm bad. So that's what happens in adolescence, in our adolescent chair. A lot
Right.
of mirroring and protecting ourselves and trying to keep ourselves safe. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
makes sense.
love seeing it through those different lenses. It's like watching my grandson, seeing the world through his eyes and wondering, how did we ever stop seeing the world through those eyes? The awe, the wonder, the excitement. I think back of, like his first Easter and watching him look for eggs, or being out in the backyard and chasing lizards or looking at butterflies, and just all, it's like, how did we stop that?
Mhm,
When did that disappear?
mhm,
And then thinking about, oh, my adolescence. Oh, I know exactly where all of that disappeared to, because I was more hyper focused on taking care of everybody else, taking care of everybody else's emotions and feelings. And there really
mhm.
wasn't time to still be a child.
Right, right. And that is so common that we feel like there's no time for us to be a child anymore. Because even though that's adolescent, we're still a child. We're not an adult. And it's funny because what was coming through is, well, if we're out there and we're exploring and playing with the frogs and blowing bubbles, we're not benefiting anyone else. We are adult us, we know we're benefiting. Because we have to fill our cup first. We know that now as healthy adults. But when we're a child, it's like, well, if I'm over here doing this, nobody else is coming over here and telling me what a good job I'm doing or how much they love me, because unfortunately often we're shown conditional love, or it may not be conditional, but the way that, and this is because of the way that our parents and caregivers had their child adult and child adolescent adult chairs. They don't know how to say, honey, I love you for being who you are. I love how much you love nature. How wonderful would that be to just go up to you and be like, you're having a good day? I love that. You deserve to have a good day. Period. That's what, as healthy adults, that's how we respond to our children or to children around us or to individuals around us. We just love them, period.
But knowing that we have to have had received that, in those formative years, to know how to do that. And even the concept, like you said, of, when you're a healthy adult and you realize how important it is to make sure that you fill your cup first. I had no idea of that whole concept until literally over the last 4 years.
Right.
Like, I had never heard of the concept of having a full cup first and taking care of yourself first so that you can be your best self for
Mhm.
others. And if you still want to be that person that shows up for others, that takes care of others, that but at least you're operating from a full cup and not from the grounds at the bottom of the cup. And
Mhm.
it was realizing that after I had already hit full overwhelm and I was literally at the grounds at the bottom of my cup. And when people started to reference that, you need to take care of yourself. You need to do this. You need to, fill your cup first. I was like, why did I never hear this? Why did I never learn this? Again, it goes back to those formative years of realizing that my mother didn't know that.
That's right.
And, that was a lot of my huge growth in my trauma recovery was being able to separate anger and hate and all these negative things that I held inside against my mother for a lifetime to being
Mhm.
able to flip that and see it from that perspective and remembering when I was a child and I would get in trouble, my mother would send me to go stay with my grandmother in Colorado for the summer. And my grandmother, one, didn't speak a word of English. So it was really hard to be in her presence day in and day out because I couldn't communicate with her. But
Mhm.
what I do remember is witnessing how abusive she was to my grandfather and, spending time with other aunts and uncles and seeing that they were very similar to my mother in their behaviors, in their communication. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay. I can use that as my way to rationalize or accept or acknowledge that she
Yes.
really was doing the best that she could. Although, people will say, well, it's never okay to abuse your kids. No, it's not. It's never okay to abuse your kids, regardless.
It's correct. And stating that someone's doing the best that they can does not excuse them. It doesn't excuse behavior.
Yep.
It just allows you to understand and it allows you to let go. You don't have to carry it anymore when you understand that it wasn't about you. It was about them doing the best that they can. It's for you to take the weight off. Again, doesn't excuse it.
And that was the biggest part of my
Mhm. And that leads perfectly into the adult chair because what you did, one of the biggest things we do in the adult chair, which is owning our reality. So oftentimes I'm with clients who we're in the child chair, we're in the adolescent chair, we're uncovering, we're moving. When we're in the adult chair, they don't know what to do. So, and some do, not everybody, but a lot, it's very common with an upbringing where we don't have anyone healthy to model for us, that we're adults chronologically, but we really don't know how to be a healthy adult. And so, how do we become a healthy adult? Well, we have to learn what that is, and we have to really take inventory for where we're at right now and own it and not from a place of victim, but from a place of empowerment. Like, all of this is why I am here, and here's what I'm going to do with it. Not all of this is why I'm here, and this is why I am. That is adolescent. We are stuck. I'm not moving. Nope, not doing it. Or it could be child chair. We're throwing a tantrum. Mm-mm. But when we're in our adult chair, we're in fact and truth. We're in the present moment. Also, important thing that I skipped when we were talking about adolescent, this is when we also will develop coping mechanisms, escaping our life, trying to get away to feel better instead of facing things because we don't yet have what we need to face things in a healthy way. So then we become sometimes numb adults. So the way that we become healthy adults and stay in our adult chair is by learning about our other chairs, what made us who we are, and owning our reality. Okay, I am this way. Maybe like I am angry. I yell at people when I don't get my way. And this was modeled to me by my dad. This was modeled to me by my uncle. This was modeled to me by my seventh grade teacher. So this is not serving me. This anger is not serving me. Now I know where it came from. It was never mine. It was given to me. So now I'm in my adult chair. I'm owning that. I know that. Well, I get to choose because when we're in our adult, we are living a life by choice. Nothing is done to us, it is done for us. And we are only given opportunities. Obstacles are opportunities, setbacks are opportunities. Taking a step backwards is an opportunity. We look at everything happening for our ultimate highest good because we trust and we're confident. So, living in the adult chair, also, we set healthy boundaries. We are not afraid to speak. We are not afraid to be seen. In fact, when we feel fear, we don't run from it. We get curious about it. So we're taking, as adults, we're taking these healthy components. Like when we're in adolescent, we get defensive. There's times in our life where we need to defend ourselves. So we can pull on that adolescent energy. Do you remember when you were maybe a teenager, someone accused you of something that you didn't do, and you're like, oh no, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so we can pull that energy in and say, well, let me go get that adolescent energy of, I know how to stand up for myself. Or if we're feeling like we don't have passion in our lives or we're struggling to have fun, maybe we need to go and connect with the child part of ourselves. Well, what did I used to like? And can I do that now? And maybe we can do it on our own, or maybe we do it with the help of a coach or a guide or a video or something. It's different for everyone. But we look at the qualities that are in our everyday healthy adult. We're emoting, we're curious, we are, we know who we are. That comes from our child chair. So we're pulling those beautiful qualities and they're seated with us in our adult. Does that
Mhm.
give you kind of
Yeah, you gave me a big old warm and fuzzy.
oh, I love
I
that.
love learning about it in all of the ways you explained it because you made it so easy to understand, so easy to remember the different parts of our life, our child chair, our adolescent chair, our adult chair, and how important it is to be able to pull from the beautiful parts of those two chairs and to be able to, like you said, have choice. We have choice. That's what we have as adults that we didn't necessarily have in our adolescence. And so now we have choice. We can realize that things are happening for us, not to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we can choose how we react, how we respond, how we
Yes.
talk to ourselves, how we talk to others, how we can choose between having a bad day and having a wonderful day.
Mhm.
And, I was thinking when you were talking about, remembering the joy, that childlike joy that we had in our child chair. And I pull on that quite frequently, when I just need that time
Mhm.
to stop adulting. Like, I just don't want to adult today. I want to sit down with my tons of sloth stuffies and my coloring book and Disney on the TV. And my husband will come home and he'll be like, "Are you having fun?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm surrounded with all my favorite stuffies and I'm coloring in my one or two favorite coloring books and I'm
Mhm.
watching whatever, and I love to take that time and know that it's okay to have that time. And,
Mhm.
it's just, I love how you explained it. Like all of
Mhm.
it. It just made so much sense.
Mhm. And as you were sharing that, it's like what came through to me is that ultimately we return back to our child chair, because when we're in our child, we're so pure of who we are. And then in adolescent, we start to worry that other people won't accept that. And then when we're in our healthy adult, we don't care because we accept ourselves. So if you don't like my sloths plushies, that's a you problem. They're bringing me joy right now. And I'm here to make sure that I am having the best, most loving experience I can have, because I know when I'm having the best, most loving experience, and then I go out into the world afterwards, the world is going to benefit from contacting that version of me. So I'm doing these things for myself, but I'm ultimately doing it in service to the world, to my clients, to a lady at the grocery store. And it goes back to, like you said, filling our own cup and understanding when we need to fill it and looking at what drains it and what fills it. And sometimes we don't know. And that's when tools like the adult chair come in and help. There's what I love about the book and the modality is like there's questions each and every step along the way for if you get stuck, to understand why you're stuck and what purpose that stuckness, that block, what purpose is it serving for you? So just to kind of also point this out, because we can pull from the chairs, but we also sometimes and oftentimes we're subconsciously living from those chairs. So if I'm sitting, if I'm in the shower and I had a full work day and I'm done working, I'm in the shower, I'm trying to relax, and my mind is, oh, I need to do blah, blah, blah tomorrow. Yes, I can't forget. I need to send that email. Oh, first thing is this, blah, 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 blah. Okay. That's rumination. I'm not being in the present moment, I'm in the future. So once I learn about these chairs, I know rumination, adolescent. And so then I can go, oh, I'm ruminating. I'm in my adolescent chair. Okay, what's going on here? And I can get curious and understand, oh, this is why this is occurring. And then I can go back to and say, and I love this kind of came to me one day. I was in the shower and that was happening. I don't know where this came from. I'm saying my higher self voice, loving energy came through to me and said, you don't have any homework today. I was like, what? You don't need to think about any of that stuff for tomorrow morning. It's already on your to-do list. You don't have homework. Remember when you were a kid in school and you either had homework to bring home with you or you didn't? I'm like, yeah. And this voice is like, well, you don't have any homework today. So why are you thinking about this in the shower? And I'm like, oh, I don't have any homework. Okay. And so I started adopting that practice of when I'm leaving work and going home, do I have any homework today? No? Okay. And
I'm
then
going
I
to go
could just
enjoy my
lovingly
evening.
remind myself, I don't have any homework today. I don't need to be living up here worrying about the next day. And it's a practice, sometimes we still do, but that's how we can catch it. Or like, oh, I'm in this like numbness. I have something let's say something tragic happened and I am troubling, it's troubling to me to really process it and move through it. There's something there. Then I know, okay, child chair. So just to point out, we can pull from and we can also acknowledge and understand when we are not in that adult chair, where we're at, and how do we slide back into it. So in that moment of I'm ruminating, I'm in my adolescent chair, how do I slide back into my adult chair? I was really calling on, hey, adult, I need you right now. And that's when that voice came in. I was like, okay, hey, you don't have homework today. And I'm like, oh, I'm back in my adult chair. Yes, now I'm enjoying my shower. I'm in the present moment. It smells so good. I'm getting clean. I love myself. Ooh, what do I want to do after this? Let's have some fun. Here's my child chair coming in. We're going to watch a movie. We're going to color.
I love that. I love that. I truly do. I like that you also mentioned, really looking at what drains us versus what fills us, what replenishes us, what brings us joy, what brings us happiness. And that is something that, I do a lot in my coaching as well with people, is have them look at those things that are draining us and how can we shift them so that you either remove things that are draining you or find ways to adjust in your day or in your week or in your month. So when you're sitting down and you're looking at paying bills, do you do that twice a month? Or are you ruminating over how am I going to pay this? How am I going to pay that? How does this, how can you, the things you can shift and do to change those worries? So maybe setting up the majority of your bills for auto pay. Then you're not thinking about it. They're just automatically going to happen. They're going to be taken care of. You deal with it and you're not thinking about it. So there's a lot of those things. And even looking at our calendar, like you said, um, I know I have this to do, I have this to do, I have this to do, but realizing that when you're in your best self, you have already done the things to prepare for those things. And so ruminating about, oh, I need to remember to do this. And then you go back and you look and you go, I already did this.
That's right. We're not used to trusting ourselves until we build that trust. So we're questioning ourselves in those moments. Like, oh, I need it. Oh, wait, I already did. Thank you, past self, for preparing for me. Yeah, absolutely.
And that was
Absolutely.
something that I struggled with when I was going through trauma because I had lived in a period where I 100% trusted myself. That was one of those things. I could go into an interview and I could, tell my prospective employer, these are all of the things I can do for you. Like I can multitask and I'm organized and I'm detail oriented and I can this and I can this and I can this. And realizing that that came from that adolescent chair because those were skills that I had developed, in those adolescent years to make sure that I was that perfectionist, that I was, doing all those things. And then when trauma snuck in and took that away from me, like I thought I had completely lost my resilience because I couldn't, my trauma was so thick that it was causing this brain fog that was so heavy that I literally couldn't remember from minute to minute if I had completed a task. And
Mhm.
working in a law office, that was my greatest fear was if I miss one thing, I can really hurt somebody's life. And I am responsible for these tasks. And I can't remember if I sent this to the judge. I can't remember if I, calendared this. I can't remember, I just couldn't. I could do it, but then I would get up from my chair and step out of my space and somebody would come up and say, hey, so when is that motion response due? And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? They're like, you just got it. Like, because, everybody's copied on the same emails. And
Mhm.
they knew that I would automatically, count out the days till the response was due, put it on the calendar, send that information out to all the people, start working on it, all those things. I would do it. I would put it in the cabinet and it would disappear from my mind.
Mhm.
And then I couldn't remember doing it. And then I was having panic attacks and anxiety attacks about I need to do this, or I didn't do this, or what if I fail, or what if I, hurt somebody's life permanently? And as I started to heal, as I started to do the work that I needed to do, that fog cleared.
Mhm.
And so I'm back at a point now where I'm not in that ruminating, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. I have a calendar. I write it
Exactly.
down, I put it on the calendar, I put it in my computer calendar, I put it on the calendar in the kitchen, I'm done with it. And I know the next morning when I
Some very quick response time.
mhm, yeah, and just, so all those things, we can find what works
That's
for
right.
us.
That's right. And
And
you said something when you were in that fog that really stuck out and resonated with me too. Isn't it funny how when you were experiencing that fog, you were so focused outside of yourself when if someone else would get hurt by a mistake that you made, instead of, and to no fault of your own, but instead of being like, I really need to take care of myself right now because I am, not able to remember this. But it was, well, what if somebody else? And that's how we're trained and we're brought up, is that other people are going to be impacted if we're not our best, versus, oh, I'm not my best, I need to go inward and be with myself here. Actually, the last thing I need to do is worry about everyone else. And so, yeah, to see where you're at now and everything that you have been through is very inspiring.
thank you. And that kind of leads into my next question, which is with a lot of your work focused on codependency. And this is what we're talking about, is that outward. How does the adult chair model really help people break free from those codependent patterns?
Mhm. Well, the first thing, and I think the most profound thing, because like I remembered and you remembered, the moment you learn what it is that's the first step into shifting. Because a lot of times we're operating in those ways from a place of not knowing why, not knowing where it came from, and feeling like, and this is the one that you, I'm sure, have heard as well, as common, is, well, that's just the way I am. Well, I'm just a helper, but that's my purpose. I'm here to help people. Okay. And that can be true. And are you taking care of yourself as well? Because that's the difference when it comes to codependency versus truly being in service of others. If you're in service of others, that is a self-loving uh, and self-realizing role to play. You know what that takes, and you know that it also takes a lot of self-care, a lot of self-love to be in that role, to truly serve others. Because what we don't realize when we're operating from a codependent pattern is that we're serving others to keep ourselves safe. It's actually not for other people. We think it is because, like we were talking about, when we go back to mostly an adolescent chair, it's, we get praised for that, we're rewarded, we're acknowledged, it keeps everything safe. If I don't do it, no one's going to do it. Maybe mom's not doing it, so I have to do it. Or maybe mom praises me for doing it, so that's why I do it. It doesn't matter truly why. It's understanding that I did that to keep me safe. I did not do that because I was born to do it. I did it to keep me safe. It was a trauma response, it was a defense. I was unsafe. The moment people who have a codependent trait, and a lot of us do, and it doesn't just go away, but the moment we break that down and learn that, oh, it's not what I thought it was, it kind of just crumbles. And then we can look at that part of ourselves that we were protecting. And more than more often than not, it's a younger part of ourselves who was just really, really scared and didn't feel safe. And we actually, as healthy adults, need to go back in time in our mind and imagination and remember that part of ourselves and let that part know. This is a little kind of like the adult chair version of parts work that I do with clients a lot is let's go back to that 7-year-old and let her know that she is safe. She's not in that house anymore. She does not have to pick up after mom's mistakes anymore. That mom, even though mom was doing the best she could, that was not okay. It was never her job, ever, to take care of everyone else. It was never. At 7 years old, her job was to play and have fun, and she didn't get to. And so now, as a 34-year-old adult, I'm going to find that 7-year-old and I'm telling her, listen to me. I got you now. I'm going to be your mom. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to listen to you. You do not need to take care of me. I'm taking care of myself and I'm taking care of you because that's what you deserve. Now, I want you to go put on your roller skates, go outside and forget about anything and anybody else and go have fun. And we release that part. And we are seated in our adult chair. And now that adolescent part that was operating, driving our car is off the hook and they're having fun. And so now I'm left with a space, a clearing, a release. And from there, I get to decide how I want to move forward in relation with others and serving. And I now understand that it's my priority to make sure that part of me that didn't feel safe always feels safe. And if she feels safe and then we're extending outward, amazing. But if she doesn't feel safe, we are not going to give to other because then that energy of unsafe will be expressed and felt outward.
Yeah. Parts work was very powerful for me as well. Going back to my younger self through visualizations, through working with a hypnotherapist, through working with a coach. Very, very powerful for me to sit down with my younger self and say those things and, give her that sense of safety that she never had. And the first time I did it, I thought I was ready to do something like that on my own through a meditation practice, through a visualization.
Mhm.
And while I did it, I, of course, survived it. I learned from it. It was very difficult. Like that was the first time that I had experienced anguish that had been trapped in my body for 20 years. And I was finally able to feel it, to release it, to be with it, and not be afraid of it, and not say, oh, it's not okay to cry like that. I remember when my mother-in-law passed away and my daughter was 6, that she was scolded by my father-in-law at the funeral for crying. And I don't think I'll ever forget watching him do that, seeing what it did to her, and having that ability, freedom, choice to have anguish, to grieve the loss of this woman. And so getting able to experience that gave me clarity and power and permission that if I need to express grief in that way, that I can. And I don't care who likes it, who doesn't like it, who sees it, and I work with a lot of people on that. I've been doing that with a close friend who lost her husband unexpectedly. And, you know, it's such a natural reaction for most of us to lead any conversation with, I'm sorry.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, she just lost her husband of 23 years. And I heard about it because a friend reached out to me and said, hey, did you know?
Mhm.
And it had been 4 or 5 days since she had lost her husband and she hadn't reached out to me. And so I
Mhm.
didn't know. And so when I reached out to her, when she answered the phone with, I am so sorry I didn't call you.
Wow.
And so I went and was just with her
That's right.
and just held her and told her, one, you don't ever have to apologize to me for anything.
Mhm.
And all you have to know is I am here because I love you.
That's exactly what was playing when you said, "We say I'm sorry." My mind went, "I did that to you earlier when you said your father-in-law." I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And when I said it, I actually caught myself afterwards going, "That's not how we respond to that," because it's a conditioned response.
It's a
But
conditioned
I but
response.
I even went in and thought, "Well, what would I say instead?" And the words, "I'm here." Very simple. I'm here. That is it. I am here. That gives you, the person who's grieving, the permission to ask for, be whatever. I am just here. That's it. Be you. Because when we say, I'm sorry, we're inadvertently, it's giving an undertone that like I have a negative perception or emotion around this and I'm kind of giving it to you. And it's like you already have enough. So don't worry about how I'm feeling. It's not about me. It doesn't matter if I'm sorry or not. This has nothing to do with me. This is, hey, I'm here. Yeah. Mm,
A lot of change, a lot of growth, a lot of learning. But that's
absolutely.
what my experience helped me to be able to do with
And
others.
and then what you shared with, so it was her grandfather then kind of, and I don't want to use the word shaming, but
Yeah,
if that sounds right. So shaming her for having the emotion. And then how wonderful for you to witness that. And I know not wonderful, but wonderful to witness it and be like, oh, no, I can grieve however I want. She can grieve however she wants. And also, when we learn the adult chair, it's like ingrained because as you're telling the story, my brain, and I don't know if it's my intuition or just the knowing of the model, you're like, yeah, he told her that that wasn't allowed. My brain is like, he wasn't allowed to emote as a child. And
absolutely.
that's the exact in real time example of he's doing the best he can because he doesn't know how to emote. Nobody taught him. It
Nope,
wasn't okay for him. So he's seeing something that he was never taught in front of him and he's like, "Hey, that's not okay. You can't do that." Because his perception is so limited from his own experience that that feels not safe for him. So he's like, "No, you can't." And so he's putting it on her and he is doing the best he can. And so lucky that she has you to say, hey, he's wrong. You can cry, honey. You can anguish. You can feel anger. You can let it all out. You can cry. You can scream, whatever you need to do. And I'm going to do it too.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And boy, I got to witness that time and time again. I witnessed it with how my ex-husband, his son, reacted when he lost his mother. And then, you know, in recent coming into, you know, April when he actually lost his father, um, that my daughter stepped in with her father and was there for him to show him that it was okay to grieve.
Mm,
And she said, you know, Mom, I just stood with him and I held him and I let him know it was okay because he didn't know how to grieve. He never learned how to grieve.
I have goosebumps. That's so powerful.
So it's something that I'm glad that she was able to do for
Mhm.
him
Absolutely.
and that she's grown and learned these these skills that, you know, we have to develop over time.
Yep.
And sometimes it goes back to that, like we were talking, get, you know, somebody giving us permission.
Mhm.
when we can't give ourselves permission.
Exactly. The words, it's okay.
So, how can listeners who are curious about this model begin practicing it in their daily lives?
There's so many ways. If you're genuinely curious about the model, the modality, you can get the book, which I have obviously a little plug here. The Adult Chair. This is a new version. So let me take this one. This was the very first adult chair book that I learned. Look how tiny and cute the adult chair. And Michelle has just throughout the years expanded her knowledge and her offerings and her tools and her teaching. And so this is the new adult chair. And I love it because it represents our child, our adolescent, and the beautiful adult. And so we got, in this book, if you are a person who likes self inquiry or journaling, it's filled with so many questions throughout to just get you thinking back and understanding yourself. But if you're not a book reader, I mean, you can listen to it on Audible. She also has a podcast, and it used to be called The Adult Chair. It's now called The Michelle Chalfant Show. But her episodes are between 30 minutes to an hour, and you can find tons of information on the adult chair and what it really means to live from the adult chair. So that's like if you're wanting to expand your knowledge. If you're ready to do the work, book a consult with me. I offer a free 30-minute consult. And then from there, I'd be more than happy to guide you through whether it's a one time to get you started or you need help along the way. And then also, let's just throw all of the to dos out. And if you're just like, what do? I want to just lean into this. Curiosity. That's the number one word I would say is the takeaway is curiosity. It's not holding a state of not knowing, becoming curious. When we are curious, we can learn. And when we learn, we can choose differently. Sometimes we can't make different choices if our minds remain the same. When we're curious, we leave space for things to come in to be considered that maybe prior we didn't have room for. So I would say holding a state of curiosity and neutrality, becoming curious and staying neutral. We're not shoulding and shaming yourself will not get you anywhere. And those qualities did not come from you. You were not born to do that to yourself. That was picked up somewhere. So let that go to make room for self-love. I'm going to keep going if you don't cut me off here. I'm like, start here, then this.
No, those are actually perfect starts. I will link to her show in the episode. That'll come up as a information card. So it'll pop up towards the end of the video or halfway through our video so that if people want to just click on it, then they'll have the information right there. I will include information in the show notes, but how can people find you? That way they know when they're at that stage and they're ready to book that consult or they're ready to work with you. How can they find you?
Absolutely. So my website is illuminatelife.coach, illuminatelife.coach. So you can explore my offerings there, learn more about my story, book a session or a consult. I also post little bits of wisdom here and there when I feel called to on my Instagram. It's the only social page I have right now, and that is at Illuminate Life Coach on Instagram.
Got it.
So those are two ways that you can connect with me.
Perfect. I will make sure to include all of that in the show notes. Information regarding where they can pick up the book, the podcast, and then how people can reach out to you. That'll all be included for everyone. I want to thank you again for joining me on my special day. and sharing your wisdom about the adult chair. I think it is so fascinating and so informative that it can really help us understand so much more about our life that maybe we've either been too afraid to look back on, or we're stuck in beliefs or thoughts or an identity that aren't even ours. That this may help us realize those things, that some of those thoughts and beliefs, were handed down to us, but do we really resonate with them? Is that really what we believe? And so I think having this framework will help people work through each of those things to really get to know ourselves on an intimate level so that we can continue to grow. Um, I
For
love how this model makes self discovery so approachable that it helps us break free from the old conditioning that no longer serves us. Um, and so that is really important for listeners who want to connect with Emily and learn more about her work. Again, you can find her at illuminatelife.coach. I will make sure and include the link to that in the show notes. Remember, you always have the power to shift chairs. And with awareness, you can choose to live from an empowered, grounded adult within you.
That's right.
And until next time, thank you so much. Until next time, keep your happiness on tap. Emily, again, thank you for your time today. Thank you for sharing my special day with me. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast. I appreciate it.
Thank you.